Parashat Shavua, Parashat Shemot. We all know that Paro makes a decree that every single child that's born, you send into the river. What happens is that why do you make that decree? Because the astrologers, they told him that there's going to be a Mashiach, a redeemer for the Jewish people. So who is the one that saves his child from the Nile? None other than his own daughter. Batia Bat Paro. What does this come to teach us? That's the first step we have to understand. Everything is b'dei shamayim. Everything is in the hands of Borei Olam HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Man plans and God laughs. At the end of the day, we have to do our ishtadlut, we have to do our efforts, but at the end of the day, we have to remember that in Judaism, the main thing is the effort. We have to try. The report card by Judaism is how much we try. So we have to try, we have to do our efforts. So we're going to discuss a few things. First and foremost is, in order to accomplish any goals, you have to take it step by step. We see in Parashat Ve'era that HaKadosh Baruch Hu talks about the redemption of the Jewish people from Egypt. What is it? Ve'otzeti, ve'itzalti, ve'ga'alti, ve'lakachti. 4 expressions of Geulah, of redemption. And the simple question is, why do you need 4 expressions? You could have just had a simple, one line or one word. And the Chachamim tell us is because it takes time to get from point A to point Z. It doesn't happen overnight. You have to understand, you don't get from the first letter to the last letter like this. You don't get to the first rung and the last rung of the ladder right away. You have to take it step by step. You have to do it little by little. And the Gemara tells us very simply over here in Masechet Kiddushin, what does it say? Tafasta meruba, if you acquire too much, if you do too much, lo tafasta, you won't get anything. Tafasta muat, you got a little bit, then tafasta, then you acquired it. We have to take it step by step, slowly but surely. Sov maaseh, the end result, b'machshavat tchila, with the mind at first. You have to think, what's the vision, what's the goal, what do you want to accomplish? Next thing Morar would tell you is don't wait for perfection. Many people don't accomplish any goals, you know why? They have to do it right. They don't start, why? Because, how am I going to do it? I have to do this right. And there was an amazing chizuk from Rabbi Yisachar, our friend, he gave in the Siyam Hashas 4 years ago, whatever it was, a few years ago. And he said like this, the biggest enemy for anyone to accomplish doing Daf Yomi, you know what it is? Is the fact that people want to be perfect. Why do people not start any projects? Because they want to do it right. Don't get me wrong, it's important to do things right. But you have to sometimes jump into it. You have to understand that perfection sometimes is your enemy. Many people don't learn, because I don't understand. Sometimes you have to jump into it. Like the chinuch says, your heart, your neshama, you're not into something, you don't feel it, you know what you have to do? After the actions, you do the actions, you do it and you do it, then all of a sudden the heart, you have a desire, you have an enjoyment of doing it. The Chavetz Chaim is a famous mashal about a city that they invited the king, the melech. The king comes, and they made a whole hoopla out of it, a whole red carpet event. And what happens is that they sit him in the dais, and they give him some chai, some tea. And he drinks the tea, and then poof, he spits it out. Everyone's like, what's going on over here? He takes another sip, and he spits it out again. And what happens is they ask, Kavod HaMelech, the king, why? What's going on over here? Why are you spitting it out? And he explains that there's some stones, there's some pebbles, there's something off over here. Adonai HaMelech, the king, you don't understand. When we take out the water from the well, you know what happens? The stones from the wall, it comes together with it. He's like, Chacham, smart man, listen, there's a filtering system. You take a cloth, you put the water, and the water is going to go through it, the stones are going to stay on top. Wow, what a smart king we have. After a few weeks, months, whatever it was, they hear news that city got burnt. There was a fire and it got burnt. And the king comes down to check out what's going on over here, what happened. And what happens is, it's your fault, they tell the king. My fault, what did I do? It's all your fault. There was first a small fire. Until we filtered the water, until we got the water to go onto the fire to shut off, it expanded everywhere. You majnoon, you crazies. When there's a fire, you use any type of water. You use everything and anything you have. You don't have to do filter. Same thing with regards to our community. There's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of, amazing amounts of things that can be done. But people say, let me first work on myself. Let me be perfect. Let me do this. Let me do that. But at the end of the day, we have to understand that you don't have to be perfect. You have to just try. You have to push. You have to do as much as you can. B'ezrat Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give you the siyata d'shmaya, the help from heaven. Once you work for HaKadosh Baruch Hu's army, then B'ezrat Hashem, you're going to get a lot of blessings. Okay, Tov. Throughout the Torah, There's two brothers. We know Moshe and Aaron. Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron Kohen. And throughout the Torah, you usually have Moshe, then Aaron, or you have Aaron, then Moshe. And it's coming to teach us that they both reached their levels of greatness. They both got to it. We also had it in Parashat Vayechi with regards to Yosef and Tzadik's children. Ephraim and Menashe. It's Michal Elokim ki Ephraim and Menashe, we bless our children. But Menashe was older than Ephraim, but they didn't bicker, they didn't fight, they got along. Same thing with Moshe and Aaron. They got together, they got along. In order to accomplish goals, you have to build an army. You have to try to be a team. You have to work with others. Team, the Arshet Tevot, the letters spell out. Together, everybody accomplishes more. In order to make things happen, sometimes you have to delegate down in order to go up. You can't do everything yourself. Everybody could do something, nobody could do everything. You have to try to get other people to get involved. But the only way you could do that is if you have shalom, you have peace. What's the biggest blessing we have throughout the tefillot, throughout Shemoneh Yisrael? What's the ending? What's tachlis? Sim shalom and oseh shalom. By Birkat Kohanim, how do you end off? Ve'asem lecha, shalom, peace. By Birkat Hamazon, how do you end off? With shalom. Having peace is the most important things. In order to work with others, you have to have shalom, you have to have peace. You have to get along with one another, with family, with friends, with neighbors, with co-workers, whoever it may be, in order to accomplish your goals. You have to have shalom, you have to have peace. And why is it that people don't have shalom? It's because the word shalom comes from the root word of shalem, which means complete. And what's the opposite of shalom? It's machloket. What's the root word of machloket? It's chelik. It's only a portion. When you only have a portion of the story, you have machloket. But when you have shalem, you have the whole picture, then you have shalom, then you have peace. So it's very important that we try to have shalom as much as possible to B'ezras Hashem get our goals accomplished and to get others people to get involved. Not being a one-man show, to build an army, to delegate like we learned from Yitro. What did he tell Moshe Rabbeinu? You can't have lines upon lines of people. You have to delegate down to the 1,000. It should be 100, 100 to be tens. You have to learn to do delegation. Next thing we're talking is the importance of zrizut, being zariz. Making things happen, you have to be a little bit quick sometimes. We learned it from the Mishkan. When it came to donating towards the Mishkan, what does the Torah tell us? The first verse it says Vayitzu, they went. And the next verse says Vayavo, they came right away. You have to be zariz, you have to be quick in order to accomplish your goals. Like we say in Pirkei Avot, swift like an eagle and fast as a deer to do the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, B'olam HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We have to, as much as possible, do things chik-chak, 1, 2, 3. In order to accomplish something, yalla, 1, 2, 3. Next, every day we learn a lesson from the Tzefardeh, from the Makot. We already jumped from Shemot, we're going into the Parashiyot over here. So what's the story with the frogs? We have to learn from them. They went all out. When you have a vision, you have a goal, you know what you want to do, you have to go all out. No leaf shall be unturned. So what's the story with the frogs? The frogs, we know, they went into the ovens, and they went to the bedrooms, they went here, there, and everywhere. They went all out to do the will of Baruch Hu. Same thing with us. When we have a goal, we want to have a vision, you have to go all out. You have to do everything and anything you can. And then we know another big issue with regards to accomplishing our goals is that many people, unfortunately, they procrastinate. It's something that people always do. And we learn not to do that from who? None other than Paro. What happens is the Moshe tells Paro, when do you want to get rid of the frogs? When do you want to get rid of the Tzefardeh? Right? He said lemachar. He said tomorrow. No, tomorrow. Give it a. What does this come to teach us? Don't procrastinate. If you have a chance to do something, do it now. Do a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. Every single bit is going to add up to the bigger picture. A person doesn't build a building overnight. It takes time. One brick and another brick. A little bit, a little bit, a little bit more. Moreover, having an accounting to the entire day. Many people just do. They go about. They don't even know no cheshbon, no nothing. But in Parashat Pekudei, the Torah goes into a lot of details about the gold and the silver and the copper of the Mishkan. Why do they have to go into all these details? It's coming to teach us don't take life for granted. Don't just do things, but you should have a calculation of what to do and how to do. And if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. You have to have a roadmap. You have to have a vision. You have to have a goal. A person that has a goal is busy with his eyes on the ball. He wants to get somewhere. When a person is focused, there's no time for nonsense. There's no time for fighting and this and that. He'll be able to continue going full force. And that's something we have to all work on more. Keep track of your actions. Don't throw money out the window. What does that mean? Rav Noach Weinberg, the famous Rosh Hashiva of Eshet Torah. He's one of my many role models that I have. Noach Weinberg is definitely up there on the list. Why? Because he was a man of a vision. He had a goal. He wanted to build a yeshiva for people that are not from, but people that are not religious, and make them religious. So he had a few yeshivot that didn't work out, but he didn't give up. He opened one, he heard about this, he opened the second one, the third one, until he had Eshet Torah, which is the world renowned. The amount of kiruv that they're doing, it's across from the kotel, you see it beautifully. And he says over that, you ever go on the bus and see people throwing money out the window? He's like, I see it all the time. You don't see the guy throwing out money out the window, $5, $10? Ruben, you see it or no? You don't see the guy throwing out money all the time out the window? He's like, where's his bus? I'll go there right now. On the weddings they do. But Morar Rabotai, he explains, I see it all the time. People sitting in the bus and throwing out the window. What does he mean? That they're sitting in the bus and looking out the window. Time is... what's time? Time is money, as they say, right? They're wasting time. They're throwing money out the window. Time is the most valuable commodity that you have. A minute that comes and a minute that goes is a minute that you're never going to have ever again. This minute, that moment, that second is one in a lifetime. Because of the day, of the time, of the year. It's never going to happen again in this specific day, time, and year. So you have to take that into consideration. Morar Rabotai. Topic that I love very much, in order to accomplish our goals, Morar Rabotai, is the topic of being positive. Being besimcha. Ve'yechi Yaakov, and Yaakov lived. What does that mean, Morar Rabotai? Ve'yechi is emphasized. He lived his life in enjoyment for those years. That was 17 years in Mitzrayim. Was able to sit and learn Torah, which is the biggest simcha, the biggest part of life. Ve'yechi is gematria. Interesting numerical value. Chidush inside is 34. How old is Yosef HaTzadik when he passed? When he was sold to Egypt? We all know he was 17 years old. And how many years was Yaakov Avinu in Mitzrayim? He was there for 17. Simple math. Let's see if you guys know. 17 plus 17 is how much? It's 34. Vayechi is 34. Vayechi Yaakov, these 34 years he had Yosef HaTzadik with him, the first 17 years of Yosef's life, and then the next 17 years that he was in Mitzrayim with him, these 34 years, Vayechi Yaakov, he was alive. Why? Because he was besimcha. He was happy. It's like the famous question that the Chachamim we all know is, how is it the Yaakov Avinu, he didn't have Ruach HaKodesh to know where Yosef is? It's because he was not besimcha. He was not happy. And the Shekhinah, the Ruach HaKodesh is not in a person unless he's what? He's happy. And he was depressed and he was sad. And that's he was not able to understand what the situation is with his son. And then when they tell him Yosef is still alive, what does it say in the Torah Kedusha? Ruach Yaakov, and the spirit of Yaakov was relived, came back. Why? Because he was besimcha. The important is being happy. We all know that throughout the prayers there's skulot for parnasah. So what is the skulot is that poteach et yedecha, right? Poteach et yedecha. The sofet tevot is the malach for parnasah, which is livelihood. It's chatach. Okay, and interestingly enough, you have those kavanot. Bez Hashem, you have parnasah b'shefa. Bez Hashem, every single one of you become very rich. Just don't forget about Chazaq, right? Well, we do good work, Rabbi. Make sure to tell. But Chazaq also is interesting enough. Is v'samachta b'chagecha v'ita ach sameach. V'ita ach sameach. Savet tevot is Chazaq as well. You have to be besimcha in order to have parnasah b'shefa. Bezat Hashem, you want livelihood, you want money to come. Be happy. Adam shetamid sameach tamid matzliach. A person that's always happy is always going to be successful. People want to be around him. People want to work with him. People want to do things with him. You have to be besimcha. Another beautiful chidush I just heard. I have a podcast every single week. I don't even know what a podcast is, but they tell me it's good stuff. Every single week I talk Torah with a different rabbi. We talk Torah, conversations, different topics. So we have this Rabbi Klein, and he said something very, very, very nice. He said that in order to receive from Borei Olam HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God wants to give to us. What do you have to do? You have to be a kli. You have to be a vessel. In order for someone to give you some arak, some whiskey, some drinks, what do you have to have? You have to have a cup. That's a kli. That's a vessel to receive. So he says, in order to receive from Borei Olam HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you have to be a kli. You have to be a vessel. What is that kli? What is that vessel? A smile. You see a smile, you can receive. But a frown, someone that's sad, it's falling through. You're not going to get nothing. You want blessing for Borei Olam? Put a smile on your face. There's a famous thing from Rav Nachman. What does he say? That if you smile for no reason, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to give you a reason for the smile. There's going to be something good that happens. So smile. A smile is a crooked line that makes a lot of things straight. Smile, it's not straight. It's going to make things straight. It's crooked, but it's great. Smile. Our Shet Tevot, the letters spell out special magic in living every single day. A smile has a lot of kochot, it has a lot of energy. Throughout Torah, the importance of being besimcha. Why besimcha? The letters besimcha. You move the letters around. You have the word machshava. They're your thoughts. How do you become happy? With your thoughts. Think good, it'll be good. Think it, it'll be good. That's the way they say it in Yiddish. But moreover, Rabotai, what we have to do is we have to take it upon ourselves to be happy. As much as possible to be happy, besimcha, machshava, chiyuvi, think positive, gamzu letova. This do it for the best. And if you do it Hashem besimcha, the importance of serving Hakadosh Baruch Hu with happiness, we have to take that upon ourselves, B'ezrat Hashem, to be positive. We all know the situation of the mind, that there was an individual that worked in a factory. And what happens is that in the factory, his biggest nightmare was what? That the fridge, the freezer would lock on him. My brother had a supermarket many years ago. I remember in the basement, it was messed up. I don't understand why they couldn't fix it back then, but I understand today it's not like this anymore. But whenever the fridge would close, you can't open it from inside. So a person could literally freeze to death, chas v'shalom. So this guy's nightmare was to be inside the freezer, and unfortunately, his nightmare came true. One night, whatever reason, the freezer door closed on him, and he was there. And they open the door, Achmat Kunet Baruch Dayanemet, he passes away. They look into the system, look into what's going on, and they see, what do they see? They study the situation, that the freezer wasn't even on. It was his mind. It was his mind. It's like the person, it reminds you of the person that he gets locked into a supermarket. He's such a, Majnun, such a crazy guy. He got locked in the supermarket and he starved to death at night, for being locked in there. It's like the other guy, another Majnun, another crazy guy. He got locked into, what's it called, the mattress place? Sleepy's, right? Whatever it's called. The place where they sell mattresses. And this guy slept on the floor overnight. He got locked in the store. But all seriousness, Marav Rabotai, you see everyone's giggling internally. It's all good. B'simcha, you have to be happy, right? The point is, Marav Rabotai, the koach hamachshava, that's the power of our thoughts. Think good, B'ezrat Hashem, it's going to be good. Okay, another thing that we have to remember, and this is something that many people fail. What happens is that they fail. They make mistakes. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. It's very important to try to plan so that you don't fail. But it happens, mistakes happen. What do we do in such situations? A person has a goal, he has a vision, he wants to accomplish, he wants to do this, he wants to do that, he wants to start this, he wants to start that, and then there's bumps in the road. You have to remember that Am Yisrael, they went through this as well. They messed up big time. They were on a journey. What was their journey? There was 40 years in the desert to come out of Mitzrayim to get into the land of Eretz Yisrael, to the Holy Land. And what happens is that they make a big mistake, a big boo-boo. What do? They miscounted with regards to Moshe Rabbeinu being on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. And they do a very big sin, the Egel Hazav, the golden calf, we all know about it. But there's a very big lesson about the golden calf. The lesson is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu forgave Am Yisrael. He forgives. HaKadosh Baruch Hu forgives. There is a concept of making mistakes, averot, sins. And we are human beings, and people do make sins, people do make mistakes, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu understands. God understands. That's why we have the whole concept of tshuva. We have the whole concept of slichot, of forgiveness. We have the whole concept of Rosh Hashanah, Aseret Mitzvah, Yom Kippurim. God understands. We have tachanunim. We have all these things. But wherever there, we have to understand something very, very, very important about the Egel Hazav, is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu let us continue life. He didn't get rid of us. He didn't kill us on the spot. A person makes a sin, he makes a mistake, he doesn't die on the spot. And there's a famous midrash, says something very, very interesting with regards to Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. What happens is they were walking towards the bathhouse, and there was a poor man, he said, tzedakah, please, tzedakah. They told him, Yaksikul, in 1 second, please. 1 moment, please. Let us go, we come out, we take care of you. Or every day they come out, they leave, and they see, when they came back, they see what happened to this poor guy. He passed away. And they're like, it's all our fault. If we would have only gave him some tzedakah, the poor guy would have had some money to go buy something to eat, right? They could have easily been depressed, and they could have easily been sad. That's what most people do when they make a mistake. They become depressed, and that's what the Yitzhar wants. He wants a person to fall down, and that downward spiral just continue going down. What do we have to do? Whatever happened. We have to continue trying to strive to become great, to do Torah mitzvot as much as possible. So whatever Rabbi Yaniv do, Pseder, we made a mistake. It is what it is. Yalla, med mitzvah. Let's do a mitzvah. Let's go take and bury the guy. You take the hands, you take the feet. Yalla, let's go. And they start going towards the cemetery. And while they're carrying the dead person, what happens is Money's falling out from here. Money's falling out from there. Money's falling out from every single pocket. They're like, I don't understand what's going on over here. What they come to see is Marav Rutai. That at the end of the day, it wasn't a miskin. It wasn't a person that didn't have. He actually had. He was a miser. He was a little bit of a kamtzan, of a little bit of a. He was how do you say kamtzan in English? And he was stingy. That's what it come down to. And at the end of the day, they felt better. But what's the reason they even came to the point of seeing the fact that they weren't mistaken, that they didn't make a mistake, is because they continued moving on forward. They didn't become depressed, they didn't become sad. You have to just continue moving forward, you have to continue doing good. Even though you're making mistakes, there's always going to be bumps in the road. What do most people do when there's a bump in the road? You don't stop, you just continue going. You bump a little bit and you go. What do wrong people do? What's the wrong thing to do? You just stop on the road. No, you just continue going, you continue pushing, and you continue going forward. Moreover, Rabotai. Very important next step in the goals of accomplishing your goals, Moreover, Rabotai, is Rak Tefillah. Just to daven, to pray. Like we said in the beginning, it's Borei Olam, it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Man has a lot of plans, we have a lot of goals, we have a lot of vision. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't help you, then you have no chance of succeeding. We need to pray. We all know that Moshe Rabbeinu, he prayed 550 times to go into Eretz Yisrael, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him, stop, enough, you're not going. But if he would have prayed one more time, the Chachamim tell us he would have entered the land. He would have entered Eretz HaKodesh. HaKadosh Baruch Hu by us, he's not going to tell us to stop. There's a certain number of prayers for you to get whatever you want. There was a Chacham that said something very powerful. He said, if you don't accomplish or you don't get whatever you want, you know what it is? You just didn't want it enough. If a person really wants something, he can accomplish everything, anything. You want to finish Shas, you want to understand Gemara, Halakha, you want to become this, you want to build this, you want to do that, you could do everything and anything your heart desires. But at the end of the day, you have to really, really want. And B'ezrat Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to help a person. Why? Because the way a person wants, they're going to guide him, they're going to push him, they're going to encourage him to go in that way. We mentioned about the chinuch, about the achrei period nimshachim lavot, after doing actions, continue pushing and encouraging and continue doing, your heart, the desire is going to come. And one last thing we're going to mention is the importance of being appreciative. It all connects. Why? Because what is a Jew? A Jew is a Yehudi. What's Yehudi? Yehudi is Yehuda. What's Yehuda? Hapam oded Hashem. It's all about appreciation. You have to be thankful. Whenever a person accomplishes a little bit, and you can accomplish a little bit more. When a child, my children, God bless them, whenever they tell me, Abba, thank you, I feel like, wow, that's very nice. I want to give them more. When a person is appreciative, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God Almighty, is going to want to give more. You have to appreciate every small step of your accomplishments. That way you're going to be able to continue going upward, continue going forward, continue doing more. And you're going to, B'ezrat Hashem, have success. A person that is appreciative, attitude of gratitude. If you have an attitude of gratitude, of being thankful, you're going to see a lot of blessings coming your way. Not only from others, but most importantly, from Borei Olam. Natan is a palindrome, backwards and forwards. Nun taf nun. In English also, N-A-T-A-N. When you give, you're going to get. The more you give, you appreciation, a smile, a thank you, the more you're going to get back, not only from man, but more importantly, from Borei Olam HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's like in the chuppah. What happens is that the chatan, he breaks the cup. Why does he break the cup, Rabbi Yaniv? Oh, Chazaq Baruch, thank you so much. Bless you. We were talking about giving and we're talking about cups. I'm not going to break this cup, okay? But I'm going to make a bracha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol niya b'dvaro. Amen. So Chatan breaks a cup in the chuppah. What's the reason we break a cup in the chuppah? Huh? To remember Yerushalayim, the Bet HaMikdash. No simcha is full until we have the Bet HaMikdash, the Holy Temple. Emet, true. I heard another reason. There was a rabbi, he said, you know why they smashed the cup? So that their marriage should be a smashing success. But another cute reason is because what's a cup, like we said before? It's to receive. You receive in a cup, right? You get. The chatan breaks the cup. Why? Because he has to stop receiving. He has to start giving. In a marriage, to be successful, you don't take. You have to give. Give. The more you give, the more you're going to get. It's very important. How do you say love in Hebrew? Ahava. What's the root word of ahava? Hav. What's hav lehavi? To give. The more you give, the more you love. The more you give to others, the more you're going to love them. You don't like someone, you want to get shalom, you don't like some people, you want to get along with other people. You give. The more you give, the more you love. And Be'ez Hashem, if we take all these lessons, you put them all together, you take a little bit from here, you take a little bit from there, you put it all together, one big puzzle, moreover, you're never going to get, you're going to get Siyata D'Yishmai, you're going to have success from heaven. That's the most important things. But how do we get Siyata D'Yishmai? How do we get success from heaven? Pinchas HaTzadik? The way you do it is by Torah. Torah. It's the most important thing that we have. We have Torah, which is Horah, which is the way of life. You have to follow the Torah. You have to follow the guideline. A person purchases something. He purchases a car. He purchases anything. There's an instruction manual that tells you what to do and what not to do. Moreover, what's the instruction manual for a Jewish person's life? For life in this earth, it's through the Torah. We have to increase in the Limud Torah. And you have to understand, you know what the biggest blessing is? It's by learning Torah. The biggest blessing a person can get, you go to a Chacham, you go to a Tzaddik, you go to a Mikubal, you go to all these people, right? You know what they tell you? They give you brachot. It's very good, but you want the brachat to be mitkayem, you want it to be fulfilled, you have to be mikabel, you have to take upon yourself to do something. What do you primarily take upon yourself? To do Torah, mitzvot, maasim tovim, good deeds. Why is that? Because when a person takes upon himself to do Torah, to do mitzvot, to do maasim, to do good things, you become a new person. You used to be Lior. Now it's Lior plus these mitzvot. It's a different individual. It's a different person. And Baruch Hu can change his decrees. So that's what we all have to do. Everywhere we go at Chazaq, whatever we try to do, we have to get people to take things upon themselves. Not to be the same person. To say that this person is a different person. He's a new Bria. He's a new creation. Why? Because he took upon himself to do more. When you do more, you're plus. It's another number on your name. So every single one of us, we all have our aspirations. We all have our goals. We all have our wants. We want this, we want that. We need this and we need that. Every single person has things that they need. But in order to receive from Baruch Hu, it's somewhat of tic-tac. You know what it is? Hashem tzilcha. Hashem is your shadow. What does that mean? When you make a move, what happens to the shadow? It makes a move as well. Ani ledodi vedodili. I know it's not Elul, but in Shir Hashem it means I am for my beloved, and my beloved is for me. What that means is we make a step towards Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God Almighty, is going to make a step towards us as well. We have to make those steps. We have to go. We have to do. If we just sit down and let the time go and just become the same person in another day, in another week, in another month, in another year, life is just going, life is flying, and chaval, you're missing the whole boat. At the end of the day, we're Am Yisrael. We have to be B'nai Aliyah. We have to always be growing. We have to always be going upwards. We have to always accomplish more and do more. And Be'ez Hashem, we should be zocheh by doing more and accomplishing our goals, primarily spiritually. Be'ez Hashem, we should be zocheh to see the Geula Shlema Shekam B'meira B'yameinu. Amen.